You are now locked into the Red and Blue Rivalry Podcast, the podcast where we talk all things San Francisco 49ers and Dallas Cowboys.
My name is Eric Hernandez, and I'm repping the faithful.
And I am Phillip Enriquez, repping it for America's team.
And speaking of America's team, they had some losses and some gains over this tampering period. And, let's go over some of the guys that kind of left via free agency. And the biggest name is obviously Byron Jones, who signed the richest contract as a DB for the Miami Dolphins, 5 years, $82.5 million, $57 million guaranteed.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. Now, how do you feel about the player and about him leaving? And the amount of money, would you have wanted to keep him? Is that just too much? What's your thoughts about losing him?
Byron Jones is a very, very good corner. He's about to cross the plateau to being great. He's a step away. Mm-hmm. The big knock in his game, and this has been a talking point for the Cowboys all offseason, is he doesn't get his hands on the football. And the bottom line is, you kind of talked about it on the San Francisco 49ers episode that we just did, where defenses are inconsistent from year to year as opposed to offenses.
Yes.
And the thing is, what makes a defense truly great, even though they can have the same talent, is the fact that they can create turnovers. When you can create turnovers, that's when you have a great year. Mm-hmm. And then you can come back down to earth because you're not creating that same amount of turnovers. Mm-hmm. And Byron Jones just wasn't doing that. To me, Byron Jones is the equivalent of having a $3,000 set of rims on a $2,000 car. It just doesn't work for the Cowboys defense. We missed the playoffs and had a poor defense last season with him. We can probably do the same thing without him.
You look at what he brought stability. That's going to be like, do you have somebody in-house to take his spot? Or is that something you're going to have to look at maybe later on in free agency on a deal or with the draft? He still leaves a hole in that offense. In that defense. What do you feel that is filled on the roster, or do you have to go looking for that?
I think you have to keep all your options open. You got to see if there's a player in free agency that's not demanding the big money like Byron Jones, that could be maybe not as good as Byron Jones, but like you said, can fill a void for a year or two, or you're going to have to look in the draft. Yeah. It's that position definitely becomes a need now. It's something that needs to be addressed.
We've talked prior about him and how you felt. I think the writing was on the wall that he would be the odd man out, right, as far as big money. A person you did want to keep, I don't know if you wanted to keep him at the contract he got, was defensive end Robert Quinn, who signed a 5-year, $70 million deal, $30 million fully guaranteed with the Chicago Bears. Now, I know when we talked about guys you wanted to keep, he was high on your list, but would you have given him this deal?
There's no way in hell I'm giving Robert Quinn that much money. $70 million, $30 million guaranteed.
Yeah, 5 years.
That's some money. And I'm sure that the structure, that it's not really worth that much money. I'm sure that's an inflated number. But you got to imagine that $30 million means he's getting paid somewhere. He's collecting that $30 million.
Yeah, that's fully
and it's
guaranteed.
Probably over the next 2 years.
Yeah,
I'm guessing, and that's just way too much for me. It's way too much for the Dallas Cowboys to be able to take that cap hit right now with Dak being unsigned still. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Oh yeah,
giving up on Byron Jones. You got to think about LVE. Are we going to have to get another kind of linebacker in there that has some maybe starting experience if he can't come back from the neck injury? Things like that. There's a lot of holes to patch right now in the Cowboys defense specifically.
I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I could have swore, you guys were one of the tops as far as, money for the cap, being under the cap. And it feels like it's all being kind of funneled into like the offensive side of the ball.
It is.
Talk about the re-signings in a bit, but you lost. I don't know if he's your best corner, but one of your best corners in Byron Jones. You're losing the guy who kind of benefited from having DeMarcus Lawrence on the other end, and Robert Quinn. Kind of you want that combo one side, or else it's really hard for one guy on one side of the defensive end to create pressure. So you're losing him. And again, the same question I had for Byron Jones is, do you have someone on that roster that can fill that spot? Or is that a top need when you go into the draft in April? Is another defensive end?
And here's where this new CBA didn't bite us in the ass. the whole marijuana policy
you're
is out
bringing
the
them all
damn
back.
window.
Yeah.
You know how many defensive linemen the Cowboys got kicked out for marijuana
Bringing
use?
Leon Lett back
Oh,
too?
let's bring them all back,
Oh, yeah.
dude. But you know what? In particular, what about Randy Gregory? He wasn't doing too bad. He was rushing the passer. He was getting pressures the year before. And I think, you know what? If he's in shape, if he can play his way into shape, hey, he's not going to get suspended for the weed anymore.
No.
So that's possible. But right now, currently, there's nobody on this roster that I trust to line up opposite of DeMarcus Lawrence right now.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of the way I see it. I think that might be if one of these, and I don't know how great this class is for DNs outside of like Chase Young, who is a stud. Right. I mean, they say Chase Young is better than the Bosa brothers, and that's saying something right there. That's something I think that the Cowboys would have to go because you are losing a lot on your defense. And like you said, we talked about just the health of LVE and being able to kind of go toe-to-toe. That defense was good in spurts at times, but, I mean, that was the Achilles heel. At the end, it kind of bit them.
You know, Cowboys also lost their defensive tackle Malik Collins to the Raiders.
Yeah.
So he was a good player. You know, he was a third-round pick in 2016, the same draft as Zeke and Dak. He had like 14 and a half sacks in the last few years he's been on the team. But he's one of those guys, you know, kind of like the way you describe Armstead, where like he really flashes at times, but he's always hurt. Yeah. He's always nursing injuries, and that's why he's not one of those premier players that you're hearing about in the headlines.
You ever try to like fix your car, you know, put a little bit of touch-up paint after you've wrecked it?
I personally haven't, but I know people that have.
Well, I'll tell you a team that did this, the Houston Texans. They signed Randall Cobb for a 3-year deal that includes $18 million guaranteed, wow. 27 total.
Randall Cobb got paid.
That DeAndre Hopkins money right there.
Yeah.
I mean, the Cowboys brought Randall Cobb in to fill the void that.
Is that Bill O'Brien, the coach, telling Bill O'Brien, the GM, "Damn it, you just fucking traded away my most biggest weapon on the offense."
Don't worry, we got this guy coming in.
Yeah.
He's fine. They're almost the same.
Right.
They're almost the same.
Right.
And he took the place of who was it? Who was your slot receiver?
Cole Beasley.
He kind of took that Cole Beasley role. I mean, he had some good plays. He kind of was there in and out. But, I mean, how do you feel about losing him? Another, loss, this time on the offensive side, about losing someone who I thought maybe you could keep back and have that trio of receivers that you did last time, which I thought were dangerous.
It was. I was really excited about the trio of receivers. You talk about Cooper, you talk about Gallup, and then you have Cobb. Cobb, he had his ups and downs last season. He had a couple of plays taken away for, like, holding penalties, things like that. A couple of big plays. So the potential was there. He made some big plays as well, but for that money, it's just, I'm sorry, have fun with Randall Cobb. There's a lot of receivers in this draft. I'm sure we'll pick up.
This is deep, yeah.
I'm sure we'll pick up somebody in maybe the 3rd, 4th round. There should still be a quality receiver that you can try to develop as your slot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This draft is full of guys that can do that. I think this is the kind of draft where you don't pay guys like Randall Cobb. You just don't, because like I said, you can get someone on the cheap. Who knows how this offense is going to look. I mean, they say they're pretty much going to keep it the same, but what wrinkles that maybe McCarthy will have add to it. And, you have your two outside, in Cooper and Gallup. You have, you want to see emergence of Jarwin. So we don't know what kind of role that third wide receiver is going to have in this offense. So I think it was smart not to. I mean, you don't want to be in the same room with Bill O'Brien as far as that process. And then finally we have, the Swole Boys are here. I mean, you look at Jeff Heath and, a legend in Cowboys history, Jason Witten, signing with the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, that's going to be real funny seeing him in silver and black.
I mean, how do you feel about that? We always talk we're the team before the player. We love players, but we always think about the team first. But how does it feel to see Jason Witten kind of, one thing to see him retire, but another thing to see him on another team? I mean, is this, and I know he's not the player of this, but is it like Emmett on the Cardinals where it just doesn't look right to you?
I don't think anything will ever quite be Emmett on the Cardinals. That was hard because just the contrast, man. I mean, he's wearing red.
Yeah.
That's former division rival.
Yeah.
I've seen Emmitt Smith stomp out the Cardinals for so many years. So that was really tough, nothing will ever be that tough, so I've kind of been prepared, but it will definitely be strange to see Witten lining up for the Las Vegas Raiders now. Yep. But you know what? I wish him nothing but the best. I'll still root for Witten. I hope he does well, but I got to admit, I was a little disappointed in Witten this last season because I think he took way too many of the snaps away from Blake Jarwin, who I think can be, I'm not saying he's going to be a dominant tight end in this league, but he's developing and the arrow's pointing up, and you have to be able to see what he can do. I think the Cowboys believe in Jarwin because they re-signed him. So the writing was on the wall. This was going to happen. I'm not shocked. Like I said, I wish Witten the best. He's one of the greatest Dallas Cowboys in team history, in my opinion.
Watching Carr throw passes to Jason Witten is going to look so weird.
Strange.
It is. That's something I'm not ready for. But this is Gruden's MO from the start. Old players. He loves his vets.
His veterans. Doesn't get more veteran than Jason Witten.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to be something. And we spoke about it right now. The guy who's going to be pretty much taking those snaps, you hope, is Blake Jarwin, who signed a 4-year contract, max $24 million, includes $9.25 million guaranteed. When I watched Cowboy games, whenever I kind of did that, whenever he had the ball, I mean, he had some speed. I don't know if it's just because that was a contrast to Witten's lack of speed. It's just he looks so much faster. What do you see as far as his abilities? What is he? Is he blocking tight ends? Is he receiving? Where does he make his money? And I mean, what kind of connection do you think that he and Dak have, that you saw during this season when he got his opportunities?
So to answer your first question, I would say Jarwin is definitely your receiving type of tight end. That's why he's getting paid. He's an excellent route runner. He's got nice burst from the tight end spot. Kind of think of Jimmy Gramish, a kind of guy, not of that caliber, but he's in that mold.
Yeah.
And I think I saw a bit of a connection developing. And like I said, that's what disappointed me so much about just the lack of playing time that he got, because Witten was gobbling up all those snaps. And, I would have liked to see that level out a little bit more. So I'm very excited to see Jarwin. I think Jarwin's going to do, as long as he can stay healthy, he should be great. I think Dak and Jarwin can't get any worse. They really didn't have much time to connect this season. So I think that's going to be an improvement in the passing game as far as, that security blanket that a tight end, we're used to seeing with Witten.
Yeah.
It's going to be a new thing under a new offense with McCarthy. So I'm just really excited to see what changes they're going to be. And I think Jarwin's going to be a bigger part than some of us.
I feel like this is the first year he kind of goes unquestioned as the starter.
Right. It is.
They drafted, I think, Schultz 1 year. They went the tight end out of Stanford. He was under, Witten's.
As a Cowboys fan that watches every game and every snap, I hardly ever notice or see Schultz on the field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Jarwin's the guy then kind of going forward. And that's going to be good. Now, the signing I know you were most happy with, if you saw your timeline on Twitter, was Amari Cooper signing a $100 million deal. 5 years, $60 million guaranteed to stay with the Dallas Cowboys. I know this was one of your top, priorities. This is what you wanted done. There was a lot of stuff. I mean, we talked about it. Up to the lead up to free agency, there was nothing about Cooper staying with the Cowboys. All you heard is like, oh, I'll take a hometown deal. But there was no, we have this offer for him. Nothing like the way you heard with Zeke the year before, Dak this year. Cooper's kind of flew under the radar. Some people thought he was going to be gone. So how do you feel about this? And what do you think of the benefits of having him there long term? And is he like the number one? Is he the guy that you see, moving forward?
Oh, he's definitely, without a doubt, the number one wide receiver. I think he is the best wide receiver I've seen play for the Dallas Cowboys since T.O. was on the team. I think he's better than Dez ever was. I mean, the way he runs routes, it's a school out there. He's schooling people out there. DBs, NFL DBs, man. I mean, week in and week out. It seems like he was battling some injuries towards the end of the season, and that's where you see some of the criticism. But I'm willing to give him a pass just because I didn't see that the year before. I know that's kind of the knock on him, especially even dating back to Oakland.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when I see that good, man, I see a top 3 wide receiver in this league.
Yeah.
Cooper is my favorite Dallas Cowboy currently on the squad. I think Dak and Cooper, you could not afford to split up that connection. You know what? If the Cowboys didn't re-sign Cooper, I was ready to be like, fuck it, throw in the towel. Don't re-sign Dak either. Let's rebuild. Let's find a new connection, because I think that Dak and Cooper connection was key. We saw when they tried to do the wide receiver by committee after cutting Des Bryant. That was some of the worst offense I've seen since the Vinny Testaverde days.
Damn,
that's bad.
Saying something right there.
So when Amari Cooper comes to your team and you see the things that he can do, and you're like, man, I've never seen anybody do the things that he's doing. And I'm going back to the Michael Irvin years. I don't remember seeing a technician like Amari Cooper. And so for me, it's a breath of fresh air. That was the biggest exhale in my free agency, where Amari Cooper is a Dallas Cowboy for the future, and I'm excited.
I mean, how can you not be? I kind of agree with you, and you just have this thing. Now, my question is with that is that when you look at what, you're going to have him for 5 years, what do you want to see from here on, and what do you want to see him improve on? I mean, you already said he's a great route runner, and I think what the thing is, Dallas is used to having these big physical receivers, Michael Irvin, T.O., Dez. These guys that just jump up and catch it, and these guys, like, they don't separate the way he did. So, like, you talk about the connection, and we'll talk about the big story in Dallas, but you talk about the connection that they have. I mean, where would you rank that as far as Cowboys? Like, what does it remind you of? Is it, and I'm not talking about talent, but just connection, is it Aikman, Irvin? Is it Romo and Dez? Is it Romo, T.O.? I mean, like, what do you see that connection being with them?
It's a good question. I'd probably say it's pretty close to like a Romo and Dez in that 13-14 era. Maybe even the Romo, T.O., 06-07 years. Nothing will ever be Aikman to Irvin in my opinion. I mean, that's your
sacred.
Yeah, that's sacred. Like, that's religion now.
Yeah,
no,
I get you, and I think you're right, because I look at the way Romo's style benefited T.O.'s and Dez, just
right.
The way he was built.
Gunslinger.
Yeah, his quarterbacking skills.
The back shoulder throws where a big guy can just tiptoe on that sideline and grab it.
And I think with you have a route runner, and you have someone who's accurate intermediate like Dak. I mean, I think that just works perfectly. I agree. I think you didn't want to separate the two. I think that was smart. I think in the long run, the money's fine. Like you said, he could have went to, I believe, Washington for $2 million a year more.
Yeah.
He stayed with the team he's comfortable and he's happy with. So it was funny how that just went under the radar. There was no talk of deals.
Right.
Because the deal that everybody talked about was the Dak Prescott deal. And while the Cowboys did not get a deal done with Dak Prescott, they did place the exclusive franchise tag on him. We've talked about this. It's hard not to see some negative in not being able to sign him. It's not on the Cowboys. It's not on them. It's just in general, not being able to sign your franchise quarterback. You see the Rams did it for better or worse. The Eagles, the Niners, they get their quarterback and they want to make sure they have him locked up. So how do you feel about how this is unfolded, how this drama has gone on? How do you feel about the contract? Your thoughts about how this whole process from when he should have been signed or when they could have signed him to now what's become of it?
I'm disappointed. I think this deal should have gotten done at minimum a year ago. When Dak's entering the last year of his contract, that to me is a perfect time to approach him with a sizable raise. You also have him under contract for another year, so you can fit that guaranteed money with an additional year on that re-signing. Now he's out of contract. Now he's got no contract. He's franchise tagged. And now that apparently is the big holdup in the negotiations. It's the length of the deal. The Cowboys are saying that they're offering Dak more money than Wentz and Goff. Okay? That's guarantees. That's average per year. It's just about the Cowboys want at least a 5-year deal, whereas Dak Prescott's like, you're lucky I'm going to sign for 4. Yeah. So, Dak's looking to get a second payday. He's looking ahead. Dak's a smart dude, man. And I don't blame him because the Cowboys didn't do him the favor and re-up him early.
Yeah.
Like Goff and Wentz. So, hey, if you're not going to re-up me a year early, hey, don't ask for me to re-sign for that extra year then.
Yeah.
So I guess that's just one of those things that this is negotiations. I'm disappointed. I really hope that they can hammer this thing out and get a deal done, because the bottom line is the cap is going up. The bottom line is Dak is going to be our quarterback for the foreseeable future. I have confidence that no matter how good or great or average or shitty you think Dak Prescott is as a quarterback, he's healthy. He's shown that he's going to be there. He's going to be your starter. Get him locked up. Let's just, kick the circus out of town. I'm tired of hearing Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp every single morning talking about, is it disrespectful? Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman. It's done. Let's get it done. Let's move on. Let's focus on training camp, the season, and actually making the playoffs instead of talking about it. Let's be about it.